Hey there, we're Talia and Ophira Edut, identical twins and astrologers. Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, where we bring the stars down to Earth. It is the last full week of 2024. How the heck did that happen? This is Ophi closing out the year with you. And wow, I mean, it feels like we're just starting this podcast, launched right on New Year's Eve of last year, 2023. And, just wondering what this year of the dragon and this transformational year of transcendent leadership was going to hold with an election and so much change. And now here we are on the other side of all of that, going into 2025. And I got to tell you, I've never been happier to have the tools of astrology in my pocket, because while we don't necessarily have to be scared of it, we have named 2025 the year of the divine pendulum, because some major planets are going to be swinging into new signs they haven't been in decades or even centuries. And it's uncharted territory. So having the stars as a cosmic GPS is such an advantage. And we will be with you all throughout 2025 on astrostyle.com and continuing the podcast, because we've been really loving it. It was one of our vision board items from 2023 to have a podcast. And we reached the last day of the year and we're like, oh, we did everything we said we were going to do except for that podcast. So what was there to do but launch it and see what happens? So we so appreciate those of you guys who have been listening at any point that you got on the train with us this year. And of course, those of you who have reviewed the podcast on iTunes, we so appreciate the kind words and would appreciate more of those. If you haven't reviewed it, will help us grow, since we are going to keep rolling with this. So happy holidays. This week is going to be anything but a silent night in the stars. I don't even know if we have a single silent night except for Monday, December 23rd. And that's a couple days before Christmas, so it's hardly going to be chill for most people that I know. I mean, I know a few people who decided to go no gifts and not get stressed out about the holidays, and kudos to you. I mean, it is a choice, but this week we have a few squares and oppositions, and those are the tense angles that form between two planets, sometimes more than two. So they give us things to navigate. They give us curveballs or opposing energies that have to be mitigated. And it begins, of course, it wouldn't be 2024 if December 24th, Christmas Eve, didn't throw us the biggest one of all. So that day, we have the second of this year's two Jupiter-Saturn squares. A square is a 90-degree angle. It's when two planets that are in signs of the same modality or quality clash with each other, or we could just say get into a dynamic duel. Jupiter and Saturn happen to be kind of like cousins, but with polar opposite agendas. Jupiter is a planet of growth, luck, abundance, expansion, risk-taking. It's the gas pedal. And Saturn is the planet of restriction, caution. It's risk averse. It's the brake. So we've got the cosmic gambler and the cosmic inspector / auditor in a tug of war. Jupiter is in Gemini and it's retrograde. So lots of opinions. Yes. Thanksgiving, despite Mercury retrograde, was fairly peaceful post-election for a lot of people. I think we all learned our lesson from 2016. We're like, we're not repeating that. Those were hard times. So even if the same feelings are there, we are all the wiser from what we went through. But Jupiter's retrograde in Gemini, and it's squaring Saturn, which is things that have been bottled up, in Pisces, which is very emotional. Gemini is cerebral, Pisces is emotional. So it might not take more than a couple of words or, frank opinions expressed a little bit too easily and too freely for some of the feelings that people have been bottling up to come out. And with Mars, the planet of conflict, the warrior planet, retrograde in dramatic Leo this month, I'm going to recommend that you have lots of activities. Get the karaoke machine, the video games, the caroling. Keep the fire extinguisher handy if you're lighting that menorah, because more than just the candles could be flaring. And on that note, actually, do be careful with those Christmas trees and lights and fire hazardy kind of things with Mars retrograde in Leo. I will add a special warning. That's kind of one of those awful Christmas things where there's always a terrible story of a house burning down, and I don't know why I'm going there. Please be extra safe and cautious, because carelessness can happen with this planetary lineup as well. So we're in Capricorn season. We had the winter solstice. The last Jupiter-Saturn square was on August 19th, and that was the day of the Democratic National Convention, the week that it kicked off. There was an Aquarius full moon. It was super intense, but it kind of uncorked the bottle. There was a lot of Jupiter optimism, Saturn kind of new leadership models or ideas were floated around and introduced. It was when Kamala Harris accepted the nomination officially to be the presidential candidate and started her campaign, her very short campaign for the White House. We all know how that turned out. But here we are. Now, Jupiter was not yet retrograde then. There was a lot of optimism and hope, joy. Those were the very Jupiterian words that were thrown around at the DNC week. And now Jupiter's retrograde. So will we get a little joy back in our stockings, or will we get some lessons, some learning? Will we be able to process kind of the shock that happened with how the US election turned out? Because Jupiter is joyful and excited and optimistic, but it's also philosophical. It also is the planet that can make us reflective and kind of take a higher learning, higher minded approach of like, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to, but I'm going to dust myself off and try again. So on Christmas Eve of all times, we may find ourselves with some of the wisdom that both Jupiter and Saturn supply. Some emotional maturity and restraint will probably be needed with Saturn, which is not retrograde now, but was at the last Jupiter-Saturn square. Will we be able to apply emotional and intellectual wisdom, reflection, in the best of cases, that may be the gift that we didn't know we were going to get. So that's Christmas. Now on December 26th, the day after Christmas, we're still going to feel that Jupiter-Saturn square all week. Do bite your tongue, or maybe, a conversation, you might start to feel like you're connecting, and then, it goes into that territory. They say that thing, we're like, oh God, it was going so well, and now we just made a turn in the wrong direction. You feel the wall go up, and just take a time out. All the more so because on December 26th is a Mercury-Jupiter opposition. Now, Mercury and Jupiter are the two communication planets. Mercury is kind of the chit-chat, motor mouth, blah, 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 blah. Jupiter's the kind of high-minded planet, but opposite each other can bring out major, critical, know-it-all. This is the third time since November that these two mouthy, outspoken planets are opposing each other. Thank God Mercury's not retrograde, but is your opinion or advice solicited? Okay, because here we are going to be home with family a lot, or seeing people. It'd be tempting to want to give them advice. But one of my favorite quotes, which is ironic because my entire career is built around giving advice, but I still love this quote anyway, that advice is what people ask for when they already know the answer, but wish they didn't. So December 27th, Mercury is being naughty and not nice yet again. it's squaring off with Saturn. So Mercury's in Sagittarius, which is already outspoken know-it-all. It's wedging itself there into a square to Saturn. And oh gosh, you are really probably prone to hurting people's feelings. Really be aware of boundaries and permission and conversation. Don't overstep. Don't give unsolicited advice. And let people know which topics, if any, might be off limits. Just also put a few formalities in place if you haven't expressed gratitude or thanked someone, or if there's anyone that you may have taken for granted that has been there for you. This was a good week to really just double down on expressing your appreciation and making sure it's really received. Make that call. Don't just text someone. Put a little more effort into it too, because you never know. You're not bothering people if you have a true connection by reaching out and calling, FaceTiming, leaving a little video message or sending a video text. Just put a little extra something into it. Now, if you have found yourself cosmically ravaged, rattled, or shook in any way by the Jupiter-Saturn square, join us on Friday because we're doing a free webinar for the 5th year in a row, Cosmic Closure. That's our nickname for it. It's 2024, the grand finale. And we have done this since 2020. Free, we're no cameras, so you can wear your Christmas PJs. You don't have to wash or brush your hair. Tali and I will be on camera a little bit, but we're just going to guide you through for about an hour how to just release, reset, renew, let go of all the spiritual and emotional and energetic burden you're carrying from this super intense 2024 year of the dragon. We're going to release it. We're going to make peace with the things that we thought we'd accomplish and didn't. We're going to declare cosmic closure together on the things that didn't go our way or as we hoped. And that's going to clear the way to really reset and move into the new year. It's you don't even realize sometimes how much psychically you're carrying along, and doing that in a group. I mean, one of the best things about Astro Style, if I may, is the people that come to our community. Generous, inclusive, loving, caring, total strangers just in a chat, bonding and looking out for each other. People really are invested in not only getting something for themselves, but really uplifting everyone else who's there and cheering everyone on. So it's so touching every time we do one of these. And then on January 12th, we have our 2025 Planet by the Planets intention setting webinar. And that is free with the purchase of any of our 2025 horoscope guides. So I know some of the people listening to this have their books and PDFs and planners already. So hope you'll be able to join us for that. Cosmic Closure gives you an extra clearing of the decks, and then you're even more primed and ready for the January 12th webinar. Both of these will be recorded, available for limited time replay. But if you haven't yet gotten your book, get it before January 12th. Get it now if you can, because we have our best deals still, some discounts, and you not only get the bonus ticket to the 2025 Planet by the Planets webinar, but for the second year, we have our awesome digital calendar populator. In the back of every book, we have all what we call the hot spot dates. Every month, there's a new moon, there's a full moon, there's a Jupiter-Saturn square, like we're talking about, all the key dates where the planets are talking to each other. And with a touch of a button, your Google Calendar or iCal will be instantly populated with an alert for every single one of those dates. So when you open up your calendar, it'll say, full moon in Cancer, January 13th, or Jupiter-Saturn square, or whatever the case. And then you can refer to your book to see what it means, but it's all right there, and you never have to miss an important moment again. One last little teaser before I tell you about the rest of the week, which has a little love action in it. We are going to be doing our Become Your Own Astrologer course again. We have picked the date, our second year on 222, February 22nd. And we will be announcing the opening of that very soon. So we just had the most incredible time in 2024 teaching people how to read birth charts and actually understand them. And while we felt confident that we'd be able to do it, we now are fully confident that we're able to do it because we had the entire program go by and just saw the miracles that happen in people's lives. I mean, like I said before, I feel so blessed that since I was 21 years old, I've known how to read birth charts. Oh my gosh, has that been a navigational tool that has never steered me wrong? So we are just so pumped to be able to show another wave of people how to actually tap into this tool and actually understand it. I know you might have tried to learn how to read a chart from your apps or YouTube or books and that kind of thing, or even maybe some courses that were a little over your head or confusing. If you have been longing to finally know what those symbols mean and those houses and those little degree marks and the planets and anything beyond your sun sign or your big three, or you kind of get it, but then you get stuck, or you think you've got it, but you aren't confident enough to charge money for it. I mean, hey, look, we're all going to need a side hustle, because even if the incoming administration has promised to lower the price of eggs, it ain't happening, at least not right away. So maybe you want to make money from reading birth charts. Maybe you want to incorporate it into what you do, or maybe you just want to use it to cut down all the decision fatigue and complications. Nobody has time for that in their lives, or to give better advice to your team and the people you love and your family. So we've got 8 weeks starting February 22nd, our foundations course, which will make you read birth charts like a pro, confidently, anytime, for anyone, anywhere. And then if you want to level it up and learn how to do predictions and relationship compatibility, our oracle levels, we're going to do is level 2 after that for 8 weeks. I'll drop the link for that in the show notes, as well as for our Cosmic Closure webinar and for the books. But we would love to have you in any and all of these programs, and just to pass along these tools and keys to your personal power. So speaking of keys, we've got Chiron, the key, turning direct in Aries on December 29th. But first, one more square on December 28th. One more little shake up. And Venus, Venus is a love planet. Uranus is instability, and they're in each other's signs too. It's what's called mutual reception. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and Uranus is in Taurus. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, and Venus is in Aquarius. So they're in each other's home signs, and they're butting heads. They're having an argument. So as you're starting to think about what you want for the future of your love life and even your friendships, Venus isn't just love, especially in Aquarius. It's about all the bonds that you have, all the ways that you relate to people. That's going to be on all of our minds. And who are the people that give us peace and calm and fun and fulfillment, or really match not just our freak, but our desires, goals, vibes, energy, and who destabilizes us. I mean, look, if you want to be destabilized, it can be hot. Depends what phase of your life you're in. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're looking to shake things up. If you are, Venus-Uranus squares can definitely make life interesting and experimental. Maybe you're happy in your current love situation, but you would like a little more, you'd like to shake things up because they've gotten a little stagnant. Esther Perel talks about finding that reconciling between the domestic and the erotic, or the novelty that's exciting and the security that's soothing. And those are such opposite forces. We want them all. We want it all from our relationships. We want both of those things. And it's really hard for one person to give us both. One of the things we wrote about in our 2025 horoscope book is that relationships are really moving in the direction of getting a makeover. I like to say that relationships need the gender pronoun treatment. They need to open up, expand, and have room for people to be honest, to be truthful about who they are. Some people want to find that one person. Some people want something else. So just the open-mindedness that is going to be needed for relationships to move into the age of Aquarius. Pluto's now in Aquarius for the next 19 years. And yeah, get ready for a little porthole window into that. And to have an authentic conversation, whether you were ready to or not. Now back to the key, December 29th, Chiron. Chiron is the healer-feeler, the wounded healer who heals others so that he can heal himself in mythology. Chiron has been retrograde in Aries, which is anger, passion, self-expression, since July 26th. And on December 29th, Chiron turns direct. It's pretty much retrograde for the same amount of time every year. It's been July to December for the past few years. And, if people haven't been really expressing their hurt openly, if it's been sarcasm and little passive-aggressive barbs and put-downs and just that kind of mean-spirited Twitter troll energy, hopefully Chiron's direct move will help clear that and, help us be more upfront between the Venus-Uranus square, helping us find a pathway to peaceful authenticity. Can we speak our truth without hurting someone else? Do no harm, that Hippocratic oath. Chiron direct will help with that. And that's going to be great because jumping ahead a little bit, December 30th, the year is really ending with the Capricorn new moon. Just so you know what we're going into. We have 2 new moons this month. And, new moons are always a month apart, but sometimes a couple of them will just happen because of the way the calendar months are with 30 or 31 days. Then sometimes we get 2 in 1 month. It's not anything so strange. It's not like the new moons have change their patterns, just how they fall on the Gregorian calendar, which most of the world doesn't even follow. Hence the lunisolar lunar new year that we're going to have at the Aquarius new moon on January 29th. And so in the meantime, Capricorn new moon is coming, the second new moon of the month. And then on New Year's Eve, we have another challenging aspect where Pluto and Mars, which are 2 volatile, hot-headed planets, are going to be opposite each other. So careful with the pyrotechnics, careful with the fireworks, careful with the anger, careful with the crowds. It could be another not so silent night. So I recommend a chill New Year's Eve and just avoiding anything that could be conflict laden or overly intense. And that means that this weekend, before the new moon, the couple days before what are called the balsamic moon, when people are kind of a little tired, cranky, just needing to just like rest, sleep, process, keep it all low key. So close out the year if you can, especially with all these squares and oppositions this week. Just don't overload yourself. Don't feel like you have to solve other people's problems. Don't get caught up in the savior mode. So I gave you a lot of don'ts. Do end conversations if they start to get heated. Find activities that don't drain you and exhaust you, but ones where people can come together and have fun and laugh and be their best selves, and avoid some charged topics if at all possible. Do find ways to reclaim joy and declare cosmic closure. And again, really hope you will join us to do that on Friday, December 27th, 1 o'clock Eastern for about an hour. Sometimes we go a little bit longer than that. It will be recorded, so we'll have a limited time replay. But if you can make it live, I really recommend it. And bring whoever you want. It's free. We like to keep things uplifting, positive, freeing. We don't avoid the hard topics, but the intention of the conversation we're going to have in that webinar is for you to really powerfully experience yourself saying, I choose not to be brought down by something that happened this year or something that I didn't accomplish, finish, achieve. I'm not going to beat myself up about that. I'm not going to feel shame. I'm not going to blame someone else for it. I'm going to release it and create a clean slate for 2025. So we would love to do that with you. Have a safe, happy, and star-powered week. And we will talk to you at the Capricorn new moon, those final couple days of 2024. Wishing you a happy everything, merry everything, and thank you for a year together on this podcast. As always, thanks for listening. You can discover more of your star power at astrocell.com and be sure to follow us on social at AstroTwins. Join us next time for more cosmic fun.